Before I start, I just want to say a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm coming at you guys today with another cosplay work log. This time I am working on my Yura cosplay from the series Inuyasha. Just a little bit of disclaimer, I'm not quite sure what happened to the first few clips of my footage. It just kind of jumps right into me talking about sewing the dress. So yeah, just a little bit of a heads up, but despite that, I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, the pinning has begun. I decided to do 5 inches down the sides here just for a start. I can always add more later. And I think I'm gonna have to cut this at the bottom because it's a tad little bit too long. So I'll have to pin this side properly, but you see how it's starting to kind of like form, the dress form a little bit more instead of just looking like a floppy nightgown. So I am using a smaller needle now and I'm not running into that issue, so that seems to have fixed the problem. So this is pretty self-explanatory, but here I am. I'm just serging the edges. This material frayed like a mother hecker. So yeah, just keeping it nice and tidy. If you're familiar with Yura from Inuyasha, you know that her outfit is completely black. Her outfit is completely black, and I decided to kind of add my own pop to it and make the lining red, which I'm thinking it will look really kind of neat to see a bit of red here and there as you move in the cosplay, just because she has a lot of red accessories. She has red in her sword, her eyes are red, her little bow is red, her skull husband is red. So I thought like, ooh, I think that would kind of make it look spicy, you know? And if it looks ugly, then I'm gonna die. So let's cut out this lining. So as you can see, I've already cut out the outer fabric of the dress, so the black part, and now I'm just cutting out the lining. I didn't use a pattern for this dress or a commercial pattern. I kind of just made my own pattern and did a lot of draping on my dress form since I wanted it to be really like form-fitting to my body. Okay, little update about this. I am so pressed. So, oh, there's like fabric everywhere. Basically what I did is I sewed the 2 pieces of lining. So I attached the 2 dresses, the 2 like separate dresses I had made, the lining one and the outer fabric together like I would normally line something, and then I sewed it all together, and as I was attempting to flip it inside out, I realized that because of the way that the dress is constructed, I could not flip it inside out. Like it just was not letting me, and it was looking so funky. So I had to stitch rip that all apart. And now what I've decided to do is pin good side and good side facing together, sew it all along, and then I'm leaving the ends here open so then I can flip that inside out, iron it down, sew the 2 pieces together, and then top stitch along the edges. So that's what I'm doing. Hello everyone. So here is a little update on my Yura dress. I haven't been sewing the past 2 days just because the holidays, it's just so hectic. So here it is. It's not sewn together, it's loosely pinned, as you can see here on the sides and at the top. But and it's a little floofy because I haven't top stitched along the edges yet. I am going to do that. But yeah, here it is, looking pretty decent in my opinion. I really like what I did with the red. I think it's very snazzy, not to toot my own horn. So yeah, I'm still kind of indecisive on like how high up I want that. I'm gonna kind of play around with that. And I'm also decided that I'm going to custom make my own underwear, just because I don't have anything high enough that will not kind of come down around here and kind of completely ruin the look. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm actually kind of excited to make something. I don't know, I've never made something like that, so. I do think I went into a little bit about this before, but basically I had completely sewn the lining together, or pretty much, and I was just turning it inside out, and I realized that just because of the design and the way that it splits down the center, it's impossible to turn inside out. So I had to completely rip it all apart, and yeah, so I've made this 2 separate pieces now. Oh my god, King Henry VIII, you put that, that is not very classy of you. So I had to completely stitch up everything, take it apart. So now it's just 2 separate pieces, lined, and then I'm gonna sew it together, which is gonna create a little bit of bulk, unfortunately. I just didn't know how else to go about this. So yeah, but aside from that, it's looking pretty okay. So I'm just going to, I think, top stitch down here just along the sides, sew this together, and then finish top stitching the rest, and then add the zipper in the back. So now I'm just ironing the edges and pinning the layers in place to stop anything from shifting or bunching while I top stitch along the edge. Originally I thought I would be able to slip the dress over me without a zipper, but it ended up being so fitted around my waist, so that made that pretty much impossible. I wanted to include a zipper without adding another seam down the back, so I found this really great tutorial on how to do that, and I'll link it down in the description box below. Okay, so this isn't the prettiest zipper I've ever installed, but it's definitely in, and there's no seam that follows, which is what I wanted. So this is what the inside looks like. And yeah. So now I'm gonna sew this together and then see how short I want to cut it. Once I had cut it to my desired length, I folded the top layer and lining into themselves and top stitched along the bottom of the dress to keep it neat. I didn't really go into this too much, but just because it wasn't anything super fancy, but I'm pretty just making the quote-unquote underwear that I mentioned earlier, which is just a like satiny piece of fabric a black fabric that I had lying around in my scrap bin, and a thick elastic band for the waistband. Yep, and then I just sewed the two sides together and bam. So now I'm on to making the belt, which is pretty easy. I just cut out a long piece of rectangular fabric, however long I wanted the belt to be, and then folded that in half, sewed it into a tube, and then flipped it inside out, if that makes sense, so the seams were hidden on the inside. Okay, so I did buy a black fabric marker to do the little designs on her belt, but I just did a test here, and obviously this isn't like the accurate pattern, but and so this is the fabric marker, and this is it being stitched in, and I'm so upset because I kind of like the stitched version more, even though I spent like $10 on this fabric marker, which I'll find a use for it, but yeah, I just feel like the stitched is so much cleaner. I was just worried that it wouldn't be like noticeable in pictures, but I actually think like it does a pretty okay job. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stitch the whole design in. I'm going to mark the design on here with some fabric chalk, and then I'm going to go in and sew it. I forgot to mention earlier though that I drew and sewed on the design for her belt before sewing it all together. I always try and work as flat as possible for as long as possible. Similar to how I made the belt is how I went about making her choker. It is just a long rectangular piece of fabric that I folded over, good side facing good side, sewed it down, and then flipped it inside out before sewing the ends shut. Although, because this fabric was sort of that PVC plastic-like material, I didn't use pins to pin anything down and used clips instead, because this material, unlike most other material, does not have that ability to repair itself, so holes made are always there for the most part. I'm calling it a night just because I have a cold and it's, you know, going on to 7 o'clock. But I did the belt today, as you saw in a previous clip, and I also did her choker. And I was very, I was hemming and hawing a lot on what kind of fabric I wanted to use for her leg covers and arm covers. And I thought, you know, it makes sense to make the choker the same fabric, just so I don't have like 20 different kinds of black fabrics going on at the same time. And I went with this spandex, almost like PVC legging material. And at first I was very hesitant, but I'm actually really loving the look. I think it adds just like a little bit of a je ne sais quoi. So yeah, here's the choker. Just tied in a little bow at the back. Sorry, my dress form is disgusting. So yeah, there it is. It's got some good stretch to it and it's very comfortable. Yeah, so that's what I've been up to today. It's coming along. It's starting to look more like an actual cosplay instead of just like a night dress or a dress to wear out to a party or something. So I'm going to work on the arm covers and the leg covers another day, and then I'm pretty much done this costume. So, yee!
Hello everyone, it's me, Fiona. I haven't sewn for a few days now, just because I've been super busy or either at work. Yeah, you know how it goes. Okay, so here I am making the gloves. I made like a quick glove when I was doing my cosplay cost test, kind of like closet cosplay, before I decided to make the full costume. So I kind of have an idea of what I would want to do differently. These ones were way too tight on me and they were not long enough. So keeping the seam allowance in mind and, you know, what I wanted to change about it, I've cut out some new gloves out of the fabric over there that I'm using. Obviously they're not sewn together yet, and I need to attach a proper ring for the finger instead of just cutting a hole in it. But yeah, I'm making the gloves. That is what we're doing.
Editing Fiona is trying to decipher filming Fiona's handshake games. Here is how I pretty much went about making the gloves. I made one side more triangular at the top to include the little ring part that attached to the top and went around her middle finger. Her socks / leg warmers also had an identical ring to it, but sock version. The ring was so small that I couldn't use the machine, so I had to hand sew it onto the glove / socks. And so because of this, I made the ring a bit bigger than I normally would to avoid any hard tugging that might cause it to come off. It also really helped that I wasn't working with a material that frayed for this part. Here's what I mean by socks / leg warmers, with the little ring bit that your toe went into, and this giant hole in the back for the ball of your foot. I totally almost forgot to do this, but yeah, here's the finished look. And I just actually finished taking pictures, so those will be up on my Instagram, and then more for my Patreon pretty soon. Hopefully, I hope to edit them pretty soon. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, you guys. I hope it was interesting. And yeah, look forward to some Yura pictures. Yay!
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are